guys, coming at you again with another episode of Tampa Bay Real Producers podcast. And we, of course, are the podcast for real producers, by real producers, and with none other than real producers. And today we have Ana Vega here today to talk about her story. And of course, Ana is a real producer. In fact, you can see her issue that we just put out, May 2023. You'll see a spotlight here on Ana. And look at this gorgeous article that was put together. Look at that great photography. It's like a 6-page spread here on Ana Vega. So you guys will check that out, of course, in the magazine. But it's great to have you here today. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I am having a blast. Thank you.
This is going to be fun. Yeah, yes. I'm excited to dive into your story. Thank you, boss. So we usually love to just start a little bit with background. Mm-hmm. So why don't we start there? I know you're Colombian. So were you born in Colombia?
I was born in Colombia, yes.
You were. And so when did you come to the States? And we'll talk a little bit about how eventually you got into real estate as well. But we can start with your background in Colombia. Like how old were you when you left?
Absolutely. So I left Colombia in 1999. I was 18 years old.
Okay.
And tomorrow will be
So you really grew up in Colombia?
Yeah.
Yes.
And tomorrow it will be 24 years since I arrived to this country with $300 in my pocket.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Looking for the American dream.
Look at you now. Yeah, more than $300 probably. What would take?
Yes, I will take that.
What brought you to the States?
A dream. I wanted to, in fact, my dream was to become a TV producer.
Okay.
And I wanted to work in TV production. And right about that time, the country, or everybody, actually the world, was just experimenting, people doing blogs. And anybody that wanted to be a journalist could just have a blog and become a journalist. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't want to be a journalist here. First of all, Colombia, I'm very vocal and have a very, very big mouth. And it was not very good for me to stay in Colombia with a very, very big mouth because, not at that time of the year. Of like that
government
period.
Frowns down upon that.
So and it was everything like society. It was just not. If you were very vocal about change, that was not good. Yep. So I've always felt attached to America. I came here in 1996 as an exchange student. I was actually one of 10 people selected by a Rotary Club in South Carolina. And they invited only leaders and academic and scholars and people that were like top in leadership in the country. And they invited them here to spend several months doing an exchange program, a student exchange program. And I was one of those people that were invited. Cool. So I spent here 6 months and I was completely in love.
Did you fall in love with the country in 6 months?
I fell in love with the country. And I was in South Carolina, Lexington County. I was the only girl of color. Like my color,
that's like the real South of the South. Yeah, like
the real South. Like I was the only girl like this in that school. And, but I made so many friends and I had some, amazing memories. And I just felt that, I just wanted to be here. Yeah. So I came here in 1999 looking for that dream. And
now, did you have to wait until you were 18 before you could leave?
So I had a very interesting relationship with my parents when I grew up because I was very vocal. I was very independent. And at 14, I was writing articles for magazines that were being published about sexuality, religion, social problems. And my family being as conservative as they are or were, that did not look very, very good. And I was involved in student council, United Nations. I mean, like anything that you could think of that had to do with leadership and thinking outside the box, I was there. And that was not, it was not. So we had a very
There was a cultural clash there.
It was a very tormented relationship back in the day. Not anymore. I love you, Mom, Dad.
Did you have a lot of brothers and sisters?
One brother. And so this kind of dysfunction that we had, I felt like in a prison. And when I left the school, when I graduated from high school, I was kind of forced to stay in a university that was in the city. I actually had applied and had been accepted at a university at the capital, which is Bogota, and my parents will not let me go. And even with a scholarship and everything that they offered me, and they would not let me go. They just wanted the control. So
They wanted you to stay in the hometown.
They wanted me to stay in town. They wanted to control my life, and I was uncontrollable. And so it was a clash. And in our culture, 18, you're an adult. So about that time, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm moving out. And I did, and I moved as far away as I could because I just wanted to run away from home.
Wow.
Back in the day. And
so your parents were probably upset that you left.
They were upset, but they were like, oh, you'll be like the prodigy, like the prodigy son, and they will recite to me the
Eventually
Bible all
you'll
the
come
time.
walking
You'll
home.
come back here with
Right.
your tail between your legs. And, oh, yeah. I heard that many,
And hopefully
many times.
their arms will be wide open, ready for the hug, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you did leave. Did you come to Florida?
I actually arrived in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Okay.
And as soon as I could get out of there, I left.
I'm from Connecticut, so I know the Northeast well.
Yes.
My family grew up in Jersey, actually.
As soon as I could, I think I lasted I don't know, maybe a month.
Too
Not
cold
even
for you?
a month. It was, we call it, in Colombia, we call this environment very caliente. So it was it was not something that was good for my soul.
Caliente
Amongst
means
everything,
hot, right?
Hot in the sense that it was very
violent.
It was violent.
Yeah.
It had there were drugs involved. I was not involved in any of those things.
Right.
I mean, as much as independent as I was not trouble. Nothing with trouble. Nothing with trouble. For me, it was just about leadership and pushing the youth forward, and how can we make a change in in our society. That was my type of rebellion.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with drugs, alcohol, or trouble, or none of that. Mafia, none of that. And that was
Who were you staying with?
an uncle. He lived.
Is that why you went to Jersey? Because you had family there?
Yeah. So I always wanted to come to Miami. That's where I had friends, and but my parents, again, that control things, like, no, you're gonna go to New Jersey. Okay, whatever. So I went there, but as soon as I got here, it was probably like 3 weeks later, I left.
Gotcha.
And then moved to Miami, and moved to Tampa in 2010, and that's.
What brought you to Tampa?
So I wanted to move in 2003, 2004. That's where my real estate world kind of started. Like, I wanted to own a home. And Tampa, I saw it as a city that was growing. Like, I'm like, oh my God, the future is in Tampa. And although I was in Miami, and my career was in Miami, and what I was building was in Miami.
Were you in real estate in Miami?
No, I was in marketing in Miami.
Okay.
I work in corporate marketing. I started as an assistant. Well, first, I started from the way bottom, from being a waitress to, which I loved. I will always say I love being a waitress. From being a waitress all the way to, corporate marketing and managing huge accounts throughout the Americas and the world. But my vision about what was happening, what was happening in Tampa, was even back in the day. So in 2004, I literally had the documents to buy new construction in West Chapel, which at that point was nothing. It was just cow fields and orange fields and chickens and pigs. And I'm like, oh,
just like a home or what?
So I'm like, this is the future. And I remember, I had my new construction documents to send via FedEx that day. And then I had an offer letter that was supposed to come that day for a job, which will take me. Remember how I said I wanted to be a TV producer all my life?
Yeah.
That was the offer that would let me into entering Telemundo, which was the network that I wanted to work at since I got to the States.
Yeah.
Or before I even got to the States. Like, I always said, I want to work at Telemundo. So that day, I'm like, okay, is that offer letter arriving, or am I moving to Tampa? And that offer letter actually arrived at 4:30 in the afternoon that day. So I didn't move to Tampa in 2004, but Tampa was always on my vision. In 2009, 2008, I put together this huge campaign for the Water Department of Broward County, which was an education campaign for the elementary schools on water conservation. And this campaign actually it kind of made noise throughout the state. And the city of Tampa Water Department needed a communications executive, so they called me.
Oh, wow.
And that was back
Tampa was calling again.
Tampa was calling again back in 2010. And I felt that, okay, this is it. Like everything in Miami was already in closure. Like I live my life like in circles, right? Like there's always closing circles. And I saw that my time in Miami back in 2009, 2010, it was coming to an end. And then when this opportunity arose, I'm like, it's time for me and for us, was my family, my husband, my daughter at that time, and myself. And
so you were already married in Miami. You met your husband in Miami?
No, I met my husband when we were 13 years old.
Oh, in Colombia.
In Colombia.
Did he just follow you at 18 and start hopping around the country?
No, I moved to the States here at 18, and then he stayed in Colombia, and then we reunited in 2007. And it was a different period in my life, and everything,
That was in Miami.
Then he moved from Colombia. He was in Colombia.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
in 2007, we reunited, and then he moved to Miami in 2008. We got married 2009, and then we moved here in 2010.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you came to Tampa under the premise that you were going to work with this new offer.
Correct.
Right? This
Correct.
job with the water
water department.
Water
with the city of
department.
Tampa. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And so then how did that go from there to, you know what, I think I might become a top producing agent?
We had a recession, and everybody froze employment opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here in Tampa with no job, and I'm like started to apply.
Just bought a house.
Well, I didn't buy my house until 2011.
Okay.
But, I moved here, and then, but I didn't move to Wesley Chapel. I ended up buying a house, but in that same neighborhood that I moved into. Anyway, 2010, we have no work, we have no job. Not my husband doesn't have a job. I don't have a job. And I'm like, we got to do what we got to do. So, banks started looking for companies to do property maintenance. Mm-hmm. So my husband and I grab a bucket. We went to Home Depot, bought a generator and a pressure washing, and then we started cleaning houses. We started doing landscaping. We started doing, property maintenance for banks. And then after that,
so this was a dual effort together. Yeah. You and is your husband in the business with you today still?
Yeah, he's actually his profession. He's an architect by profession. But in our business, since we have evolved, we own a construction company. He does all of my rehabs, and that's what awesome. He does. Yeah. So it's
truly the American dream story, right?
Yeah, we started all the way from the bottom, and funny as it is, of course, I was continue applying with my marketing experience, and I met this amazing lady, which I love her, and she's still a very good friend of mine. Her name is Kelly, and Kelly owns an advertising company in Clearwater, and she needed someone to
Basanti?
No, she used to be Posetti. Yes, Kelly Posetti.
I know Kelly.
See, yeah, Kelly.
We actually we use her studio sometimes for the podcast.
There you go. So Kelly. This is how everything is just so connected. So Kelly interviews me. She's like, Anna, I love you, but she was also going through cash flow issues in her company at that moment, but she had the business going. So she hired me as an independent contractor to do a lot of things for her company, including writing the newsletters for the builders that she had under contract.
Yeah, she still has them all up on her wall. All those different builders
Neil
that she
communities, all of them. And I was writing the newsletters for these companies, for the communities. So I was writing the newsletters. I was helping her with, requests for proposals for these big accounts that she was winning. And I knew that, this was like my opening door into real estate of what I wanted to do. 2011, I buy my house.
Okay.
And it's not, I'm not saying it's a disaster, but it was a disaster because it was anybody, it was just so challenging to get a loan. It was so challenging to go through all the hoops and everything that
You weren't
was
employed
happening.
at the time. It was your own business, right? So you were trying to.
No, I was employee. I was employee. It was my business, but we also had, like a history, and I was bringing in my uncle, who was helping me like co-sign so that we could have the story. It wasn't as difficult. Like our paperwork wasn't as difficult. Like right now, it will be a slam dunk, but back then, with all these new regulations and what was happening with the industry, it was just so challenging.
Yep.
And I remember going through this, and we had everything that you could imagine went like south. And I remember finishing that transaction and telling, my realtor at that time, and I said, I think I could help so many people because I'm a problem solver. Like that's my nature. And I would love to help people navigate this process because if they're going through the hoops that I went, or even worse, there's so much I can offer them. So Johnny's like, yes, you do. Her name is Johnny Matlock, and she's with all the experience and with everything that you do, your marketing, blah blah blah. Let's do it. But I wasn't ready to jump yet into real estate because I also had another corporate job with this Israeli company that had hired me to be an inside sales coordinator for them. So I was working and.
So you got licensed that year, though,
2012.
right?
A year
and you
later.
started part time.
No, I went full time.
You did.
So I quit my job in July 2012. That's where my son turned my middle son Jacob. He turned 1 year old in 2012, and for me that was okay. It's time. We're moving into this direction. I quit my job in 2012 July. In August, I signed up for real estate school. The entire month, I went to real estate school. I did it online. And then September 11, 2012, I got, took my exam, got passed immediately, and immediately signed up with
so
the
you
broker
went all
at the
in.
time. I went all in.
Pushed in all the chips.
I went all in.
A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people will try to do it part-time at first just to see how it goes, get a couple of deals maybe, and then maybe transition into something more full-time. But you were like, all right, I'm in. I'm committed. I'm going
committed.
all in.
I immediately, I kind of secure myself, you're going to need 6 months of savings. And I'm like, okay, perfect. So I signed, my 6 months of savings for the period that I was in. I put my first contract about 2 weeks after I, had my license, but it was a short sale. So we didn't know when that was closing. Then the next one was a new construction. We didn't know when that was closing. And it was just it just happened like that. And then December came and we were literally counting pennies. Like my husband had a collection of these fancy lighters, Cipos from Porsche and Bugatti and all of those things. We literally put those on eBay to help cover, expenses because we were literally like opening the piggy bank to buy milk at that point. Like we were eating.
I love that though. People don't see that side, they see the articles, they see the success, right? And then they're like, well, if I can only just be as successful as she is, her life must be easy, right? But they don't see, and you're not the only one that we hear that from.
Yeah. No,
the story of what it takes to be successful. A lot of people, I mean, I know we were just talking about Tony Robbins.
Yes.
He's got one of those inspirational stories about being broke as a joke and having no money and living in his one bedroom apartment where he was depressed.
we had for weeks our dinner was just tuna fish and spaghetti. That's all we could eat. And,
but you didn't take the easy way out. Like you probably could have gotten a job, right, and fixed some immediate issues.
We went,
but you decided that the vision was going to make it happen.
We were going to make.
What do you think got you through those tough days and like just kept moving you forward?
It's just my spirit. I've always been that type of person. So even in every darkest moment, I've always pushed through everything. So it's just in my nature. We don't fall. We fall, but we get back up immediately. And
do you remember when you had that breakthrough? Like, was it how long did it take you to finally feel like, you know what, I'm not going to need to do anything else? Like, we got this.
So that December, I work a lot with manifestation. Like I work with manifestation, and I'm like, we're gonna get a buyer, and we're gonna be okay. And I always believe also in God always provides. So, that December, I met this family that had moved from Egypt, and they were buying a home for their son. And I actually ended up helping them, and I got my first paycheck on December 21st of 2012. And after everything that I split with everybody, it was nothing. But I made that
It was something
money,
to you.
and listen, I made that money last 3 months. That was incredible. And the first thing that we did after, got my paycheck and it cleared my bank account, I took my kids and we're like, we're gonna buy gifts for kiddos that don't have Christmas. So that's the first things we did. We went in, we bought toys for 10 kids so that they could have Christmas. And then after that, we were able to get Christmas for our kiddos. And then my husband and I just work on making whatever was left last so that our mortgage was paid. We would have food on our table, and I would have money for gas so that I could keep taking clients. And so we did that. And then December 31st, I'm showing properties to clients in Apollo Beach, and I get a call saying, your short sale is ready to close today.
Nice.
My client was in Brazil. And I'm like, but he's like, no, we need to close today. It's the end of the year. It's the end of the quarter. It's the end of the month. The bank needs the money now. And I'm like, oh my God. So with my client and I were like working with Bank of America at that point so that he could wire the money. It was just so challenging. Ended up having that second closing that December 31st.
That's awesome.
And then after that, it just became to the point that I became that year Coldwell Banker's new agent of,
So 2013, you were like rookie of the year in Coldwell?
I became the new agent for Coldwell Banker, new associate of the year, whatever, that year. And then after that, just...
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a cool story. I appreciate you sharing it. I think that it's always fascinating that we get a chance to hear the tough times, right?
Yeah.
That people go through before they finally make it. And so obviously you built some momentum. You had a great first year, it sounds like, as a rookie,
Yes.
first full year in 2013. You're now with Keller Williams,
Yes,
right?
I am.
When did you connect with them?
In 2017, so 2018.
What made you make the switch?
So my former business partner and I, we were really digging into growing a team. And at that time, Coldwell Banker didn't offer the tools that we needed for us to grow as a team. And so we were looking, we were exploring opportunities, and the best fit at that moment seemed to be Keller Williams.
Cool.
So
And you're still building a team today?
No. So we separated ways a long time ago. She has her team, and what I did in 2020 is when I saw a lot of people that were struggling, a lot of agents in my office that were struggling, I took them, and we started building kind of a small team, but it was more like support
La
team.
Familia?
La Familia, yeah, like collaboration, support, and I help mentor them, and I just love to see them. Like right now, they are individual agents, so successful, and I am just so proud to see where they are at the moment. Cool. And at this moment, what I am doing is I am rebuilding a team, but the right way, not just out of collaboration and support, but actually building the team as a foundation, and that's where I am at the moment.
So you do want to still be a team builder and
I want to be a
grow
team
something?
builder. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have buyer's agents in my team. I have assistants in my team. Now we're growing more into the team model, and that's my goal within the next 12 months.
That's moving forward, huh? We just literally had Jordan Myers on the podcast before you came in, and he has built a team with Ascend Realty, and we talked pretty much the majority of the podcast about the culture he's built and how he's done it.
Correct.
So it's always cool to kind of see how everyone has their own path, right, and their own strategies and how they're going to get there.
And you learn from your mistakes too,
Of course.
We want to make sure that I take all of that experiences and challenges and just put them right now into, okay, now we do it better this way.
I think I saw on some of the number stuff like last year, what was it? Over 30, 37, 38 transactions, over 13 million in individual volume,
Yes.
right?
And
what was your best year so far? Do you know?
Yes, it was 2021. And individually, I made 16.5 million And then as a team, we did about 37 million that year.
How many agents did you have that year?
2.
You and 2 others.
Yeah, and 2. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And 2 others.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what is it about real estate? You've had multiple different careers and jobs and these things that you have, I think, been passionate about maybe at that time. What do you think it is about real estate that has really landed on you and why you're so passionate about it now? And, is this the path that you see yourself staying with forever? Do you think you might do something else? I mean, do you think real estate is that niche for you? And if so, why?
Absolutely. So the great thing about real estate is that it allows me to use all of my skills that I learned and that I have used throughout my careers. So marketing, public relations, event management, client relationships, everything that has to do with my career itself, I can apply it to real estate. So I'm very passionate about the fact that I get to do what I love every single day. Now, the magic about real estate is that you can actually apply it has so many branches, and that's where I am. So I'm not only in the buying and selling or representing buyers and sellers. I love that part of the business, but I'm in the investing business. I'm also in the building business. My dream is to build communities, and
I saw that on your form. You want to be a builder one day.
I built.
Developer.
So what do we do? We went, okay, what do I have to do to get there? Let's get our GC license. My husband and I, we went and we got a general contractor's license, started building new construction, and started building, and right now it's the point that I start building communities and start becoming a developer. So it allows you to branch out and not stay on just one niche. Of course, I still love my first-time home buyers. Of course, I still love my military families, and I love to serve them. And we love and hope to continue serving them for a very, very, for as long as we can. But it doesn't mean that I not venturing into these other branches that I like.
Is there a particular niche that you feel like has really been a sweet spot for you in terms of a type of client that you love to serve the most or anything like that stands out?
I love my first-time home buyers, and that's why we focus on building affordable housing. So we want to make sure that I want to see people become
You want to build
homeowners.
those types of communities.
Yeah, and those are the type of communities that I want to focus on.
That's awesome. It makes a lot of sense, especially even coming from your background. I'm assuming that would probably be a huge need.
Absolutely.
Any thought of doing real estate in Colombia? Is that an itch at all?
Absolutely. So, it's just different. So my family has an appraisal business, and they have different businesses, but there's a big business when it comes to appraisal. And the appraisal management business that they have is commercial. They can appraise airlines and dams and gold mines and coal mines. I mean, you name it. That's the type of business that they do. So we literally just open a branch of their business here in America, and we're bringing that here now. By bringing it here, that means we're also expanding, and that means we are collaborating with our country. And I see that in our future. I don't know if I'm going to be doing real estate in Colombia, like selling real estate, but I can definitely see bringing in investors and building a community of people in Colombia that want to invest here so that we can create bigger things.
That makes a lot of sense. And I want to talk a little bit more, too, about we talked about your family earlier and the challenges that you had growing up with them, but we didn't talk about the fact that they now all live with you.
Yes, yes.
I saw it on the thing. I was like, so there's 9 people at the house.
Yes.
And we were joking earlier about how it's the real live Encanto family, right?
Yeah, and
those Disney fans out there would probably know. I know I have 5 kids, so I have 5 little kids that love Encanto. Yeah. And so you were describing how you relate to the movie and all that fun stuff. So how did that happen? Like, how did you end up reconnecting with your parents and everything's smoothed over and get them here and now everything's one big happy family?
Absolutely.
How did that shake out?
Well, there's a lot of healing in the process. And the first healing is started when I have my oldest daughter. Her name is Laura. She just graduated from college a week ago.
Oh, congrats.
Laura, I gave birth to Laura when I was 20 years old. So I literally had just arrived to the States. And Laura came in a moment in my life that it was very dark. My relationships with everything and everyone were completely broken, including myself. And that healing process started with her. However, the funny thing is that Laura came in with a lot of traits from my dad, which was the relationship that was even more broken on my end. So I was loving this human as much as you can imagine. And I had to heal through her love all of the, at that point, it's a very strong word, but I'm going to say it because I don't know any other way to explain it. All the hate that I felt at that time. And you heal through love. So Laura was so instrumental in my healing process. Then in 2006, you see, there's different spaces in my life that I've had these epiphanies or this big momentum of change. And in 2006, there were a lot of things that happened in my life, including a death of a very, very close friend of mine that literally went to bed and she woke up dead the next day. And that plus many other things that happened kind of gave me this glimpse about life just being a moment. And we cannot continue living with this pain in our hearts because we are, it's not good for our souls. It's not good for the people that are around us. And what's the point?
Yeah.
So I started a journey of healing back in 2006, 2007. And that's how I actually reconnected with Carlos, my husband, because we ended up, my daughter and I, in this healing journey, we ended up taking a trip of 3 months of, just the two of us together so that we both can bond and, just heal. And in that process, I'm closing circles. I'm closing all the circles of pain, all the people that I have hurt, all the people that hurt me. It's just a trip of forgiveness, per se. And went through that process, then continue healing in the process. My second son arrives, Jacob, in 2011. And he is even more similar to my dad. Like he is.
Somebody was trying to tell you something, huh?
He is the photocopy of my dad in every sense. And then with my son, I understood that if my dad had received the love that my son receives, if my dad had received all the formation that we're able to provide for a kid, this is who my dad would have been. So I'm learning even more healing through this process. And it just goes through all of this.
It's amazing how we can learn a lot from our kids.
A lot. They're masters. I mean, they're coming here to teach us. I'm like, I'm your teacher. I'm here to learn from you guys. And so Kid teaches me even more stuff. And throughout this process, I'm also taking in, of course, mentors, and Tony Robbins is a huge mentor of mine. And I started following deeply his books, his teachings, his videos, until in 2017, I'm presented with the opportunity to attend UPW in West Palm Beach for the first time. And that was like, I just went to church.
You became a firewalker?
Oh, yes, I became a firewalker. And for 4 days, that guy broke me down to my knees, broke every aspect of myself, and then started rebuilding. And what has transpired in 2017 to today has everything to do with those 4 days at UPW. It's huge. So I healed not only that relationship with my parents, I healed the relationships that my parents had with their parents and with their parents. So it was just an ancestry, like it was just 7 generations of healing.
That is awesome.
Plus everything in between. And
when did your parents come here?
In last year, 2021.
So just last year. Okay.
Yeah, December 17, 2021.
Have they ever done Tony Robbins?
No, but they have seen it. I mean, they have seen... You can see
They've
Tony
seen the
Robbins
effects
through me. Yes, the same thing with my husband. My husband didn't believe in any of that stuff until, he comes. I come back from UPW, and I'm this different spirit.
Right. That's a good way to put it too, because that's exactly what has happened. Yeah.
Right? It's a different spirit. It's like, who are you? Where do you come from? What did they do to you? So he starts seeing it. He doesn't believe in any of that. And then, but then he sees the change. And then in 2020, actually, for Christmas, he gifted us Date with Destiny. And we did Date with Destiny December 2020.
You and your husband.
My husband and I, we both did it together. And it was a gift, that he gave to us. And after that, he understood completely what it meant. So now when I say, like, I'm doing this Tony Robbins thing. He's like, okay, leave her alone. She's doing her thing. She's doing her thing. And she participates.
Time for her to get deep, connect again.
She's like, and then now everybody understands that, this is just not me. This is something that is an extension to everyone. It's just a blessing for my parents, his brothers, for everything that we do it's just not us. It's our communities, our neighbors. And I don't see this as just me doing a program. This is us. This is every person every life that we're able to teach gets a blessing from what we're learning, because I think everybody in the world should receive that blessing of seeing what we see at these events with him.
Yeah, we talked about it. I've gone through it as well. I went to Tony Robbins in 2019, or I'm sorry, the fall of 2018 for the first time. And that was UPW as well. And it was an unbelievable event, and fire walking and overcoming all your limiting beliefs and going through the exercises. Yeah. And then that next year was just a massive year of growth for me personally, because I did all of his Mastery University in 1 year. And it was just an amazing calendar year.
Absolutely.
And it changed my business career, changed everything in many ways. Actually, that's the same year that I launched Real Producers. We launched it in January of 2019.
So this is a baby.
This is a baby of Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Yes,
there you
very
go.
much so. It was launched during that whole process, and has grown, I think, in many ways because of the things that I picked up from Business Mastery and other Tony Robbins programs and events. Amazing. So another growth that he has, by the way, is called Leadership Academy, which I've gone through as well. And I think I might actually do it again because I have a credit in my account to do it again. And awesome. So, that's another one to check out if you haven't done it. It's really about, especially if you want to build a team, it's all about coaching and just being able to dig deep and get somebody beyond their limiting beliefs. And he basically walks through how he trains his coaches. That's what the event is.
So I definitely into it. What I did is I coach for the past 2 years with them. Well, not with him. I wish with him, but like with his coaches. And
he runs Leadership Mastery too, which is a good thing because he doesn't run all of them, as you know.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So so I did it with them just so that I could get a peek and see, okay, let me see if I want to jump into it, because I do get the invitation, but I haven't joined. But thank you so much for the suggestion. Yeah. I am going to look into that for sure.
It would be worth it from a team building perspective. It would probably make a big impact for sure.
Thank you. Thank you for
absolutely.
That.
My pleasure. So he's definitely made a huge impact on me. And we talk a lot about various books here and growth and ways to be able, because I think what's really cool about your story is being vulnerable enough to talk about the pain, right, that you had to go through personally with your family, and being brave enough to do what you did and coming to the States and hopping around to find your niche. But all throughout that process, like being able to look back at it now and realize that if it wasn't for that healing, like even if you had some success in numbers with real estate, you wouldn't experience the fulfillment that you have now. Right. And that's really what life should be about. It's not just about what your sales volumes are and how many transactions you do in a year. Because even before, correct me if I'm wrong, even before you went to the Tony Robbins event for the first time, you were starting to see success already.
Yes.
In real estate.
Correct.
Right? Things were starting to pop off.
Correct.
But you probably still knew there was something missing, right? Like there wasn't a fulfillment there.
Absolutely.
In that. And I think that's a powerful lesson for a lot of people to hear is, sometimes you can be really successful from the outside perspective in business and real estate and whatever it is, but you still know that you're not fulfilled, right? There's something missing. And usually that has a lot to do with our upbringing, and there's a whole psychology behind where where that comes in.
Yes.
But I would encourage anybody to, obviously Tony Robbins isn't the only way to do that, but find something that's going to help you identify what those limiting beliefs are that are really, robbing you of that fulfillment.
Absolutely. You nailed it.
Thank you.
That's true. That's exactly what it is. You see a lot of people, and money is not what fulfills you. It's it isn't at all. So, but being able to
So what's
share.
it like now living with 9 people at the house and
It's
your family?
pretty
Who are the
cool.
9 anyway? You have 2 parents, you have your husband and your kids. Okay.
We have 3 kids. So my oldest just came back from school, so I have her there until I don't know when. Hopefully pretty soon I can go to work.
Where did she graduate from, you said?
FSU.
Okay, cool.
So she just
She want to be an agent, follow your lead, or no?
This is the funny thing. My daughter always says, I'm never going to do anything like you do, Mom. And then she goes to school and she graduates with a degree in marketing and communications, which is my degree. I'm like,
right. She doesn't realize it, but
Yep,
following Mama's footsteps.
Yeah. So I don't know if she's gonna be, into real estate, but I do see her definitely as an account executive, as client relationships. She does have a lot of that sweet and assertive personality. So I definitely see her managing big accounts.
Okay,
I can see that in her.
Cool.
But it's her life, it's her dream, and I will just be there supporting and encouraging as much as I can. So it is my daughter, my oldest daughter, my son Jacob, my smallest one Violeta, she's 4, husband, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my mom, and my dad, and then my son.
Wow, so your in-laws live together too.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And they get together really well, huh? They get together well.
Yes, they do. They and this is the thing. So I met my husband because of the relationship that my parents had with my husband's parents. They're Catholic, and they used to all belong to the same prayer group.
Okay.
And so they, as a prayer group, they did trips and events and things like that. So I met my husband through one of those trips when back in 1993, and so that relationship with my parents and my in-laws, it's a relationship that spans 30 years. More than that.
You must have quite an estate up there then that everybody's sprawled out in, huh?
So I was
up in Wesley Chapel.
So I was so blessed back in 2021. So I do that with Destiny, right, in 2020, and in that vision that I'm having, of how I see, and I'm going through the healing process of the generations and my parents, and I'm like, I manifest about having everyone with me. Of course, this is one of those manifestations that I'm like, it's never happening. Because my parents are so...
Don't mess around when you manifest.
I know. And they are so rooted, in Colombia. So I would have never thought that something like that would happen. I was very specific, I guess, in my manifesting. And anyway, so that year, 2021, disaster happens in Colombia. Political, they're from Cali, I'm from Cali, and things in Cali just become very violent. It was bad. So my parents call and they're like, you know what, my mom starts going through some depression, and they're like, I think that it's, as a family, we have to make the decision of, our security. It's the most important thing. We have to think about moving to America. And I'm like, well, I'm here. So
right.
I was blessed to receive what I receive in this amazing country. And I'm a U.S. citizen, and I'm able right now to provide you the legality for you to be able to come here. So it's always, again, full circle.
It's awesome.
So we start having the conversation, and I thought this was going to be like a 3-year, 5-year process. I'm like, I'll probably buy 10 acres, build a compound, everybody gets their own 2 acres apart, like I'm thinking that this is happening. And then my dad calls me. It was May, it was around this time. And he's like, no, things here are very difficult. That Wednesday, everything happened that Wednesday. So by 8:00 in the morning, 2 clients show up at my parents' office, and they're like, we need to sell everything. It was just like fear.
Wow.
By 10:30, my brother had been assaulted. By noon, people, like a neighbor, had been shot down. Like, it was just bad. Like in a matter of 5 hours, it was just a lot of violence around. So my dad calls, my parents call me, and they're like, no, Anna, I don't think this is going to be a long-term process. I think we need to, by the end of the year, we need to be, in the States.
It was real.
It was real.
Manifestation come true.
So I'm like, okay, well, we lived in a very comfortable home at that moment, but not comfortable enough to have 9 people living with us. So that weekend, it was Memorial Day weekend. That Sunday, these are the type of trips that I do. Like I started work, I think I started in St. Cloud, came down to, we did Orlando, Kissimmee, Davenport, Arpondale, Lakeland, Valrico. Anyway, it was a day that I ended up in Dade City. And then as soon as I came back home, I'm like, you know what? We can live anywhere. I mean, we can live anywhere. So I remember that evening going through about 835 listings in the entire state of Florida, looking for a house, not with rooms. I didn't want a house with 8 bedrooms or 9 bedrooms. I needed a house with a space so that when we didn't like each other very much, everybody could go to their own little corner and behave, and then come back.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I looked, and I found 5 properties. One was in Sorrento, the other one was in Tonosa, the other was in Northport. There was another one in Apopka, and then there was one in Zephyr Hills, 10 minutes away from where we lived. 10 minutes away.
Calling your name.
Now, this is the funny thing. It's 2021. Houses don't last in the market more than 24 hours.
Right.
And then this house had been in the market for 15 days.
Huh.
What?
Wow.
No way. This. I'm like, this can't be. So I remember calling John, the agent.
How many acres?
1.2.
Okay. So you got some space.
Yeah. So I called John like at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I said, I didn't sleep. Like I learned everything about that house. By 5 o'clock in the morning, I had the entire title search, everything that you can imagine about the house. Like I knew who owned it, who built it, who owned that piece of land from day one, everything. And I didn't sleep. And at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm waking everybody. I'm like, let's go. We got to go. I called John. I said, is this house still available? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I can't believe it. So I show up, and then what we saw is opportunity, my husband and I, because, I mean, we do flips for a living.
Sure.
You know, we're contractors, so I didn't care.
You've remodeled
I was
some
looking
things.
for something that we could use and make it our own.
You got the in-law suites and the other in-law suites. You got suites everywhere.
We got everything. And we're like, this is it. So I immediately ran home. I called my lender, and I'm like, we got to make this work. And it took about 2 days of negotiations. Yeah. And as I'm like about to negotiate, the guy comes back and he's like, Anna, we got to close this deal now because I have like a cash offer coming in. I'm like, no, you have no cash offer coming in. This is my house. So we ended up closing that deal, like 3 weeks later. And
that's awesome.
And then we spent the first 8 months fixing it up, and
now it's the Encanto house.
Now it's
all
the
live
Encanto
happily
house.
ever after.
Yes.
Huh?
Now
Very
it's the
cool.
Encanto house.
And now you can focus on building your team and
Yes.
seeing where things go from there. So
Correct.
I'm glad we got to really dive into your story. I think it's a really inspiring one and powerful.
Thank you.
And I hope that people can resonate with it in many ways and get to know you better because of it. I have a couple rapid fire questions.
Yes.
And then we're going to put a bow on our podcast for today. But so some of these, I think we got to know you really well, but just a couple quick things. I think I might know the answer to this now, but do you have a favorite book or author, or maybe it's a seminar? I'm assuming Tony Robbins is the answer to that, that has really made a biggest impact on your life?
The Alchemist from Paulo Coelho. That's a book that I read at least once a year.
The Alchemist.
And it's a very, very powerful book. It literally it's about dreaming and accomplishing dreams, and it stays with me forever.
Love it.
Since I was a teenager. Of course, Tony Robbins, Awakening the Giant Within.
Yep.
And The Unlimited Power have always been with me as well. So,
love it.
Yeah.
Favorite thing to do for fun?
Travel. Travel the world.
One place you love to go? Or favorite place you've gone?
The favorite place I've gone, so many places. But I think Thailand is still my favorite place in the world.
Thailand?
Yeah.
I have not been, but it's on my list. I hear it's gorgeous.
It's definitely my favorite place in the world.
Place that you want to go that you haven't gone to yet?
Japan.
It's on my list as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely want to visit. Favorite food?
Thai. Thai food.
Thai food. I thought you would definitely go into some Colombian dish or meal.
No, I love Thai food.
Big Thai food fan. How about that? You surprised me with that one. Threw a little surprise at us. All right, 2 last questions. One is, and I love asking this question to get people to think about their legacy. So ultimately, time comes for all of us to leave this earth. So what is it that you would want to be most known for when you think about your legacy and what you'd want to be remembered for?
Kindness. I just want to be known as someone who was kind, compassionate, and that I was always there, available to help everyone when they needed it. That's all.
That's a good one.
That's all.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
If anybody wants to talk to Ana more, maybe even be a part of her team as she recruits and builds her organization, what's the best way for people to find you?
They can call me at 305-343-4597, or they can find me on Facebook. I'm an open book.
Awesome.
Ana Vega.
Ana Vega on Facebook. We'll throw her contact up here too on the screen. We're going to end our episode the way we always do, which is with a challenge to take an action step. So the goal anytime you listen to one of these episodes is what's one thing that you can take from this episode, hopefully, that can make make an impact on your business or on your personal life to head it in the right direction. Maybe it's read one of the books that Ana recommended. Maybe it's to actually work on that relationship that needs healing in your life. Maybe there's something else business-wise that Ana threw out there that made an impact. But I think it's important anytime you take the time to listen to an episode that you're thinking about one thing you can do because of this to make this time worth it, to make your life better on a personal sense and on a business sense. Go out there and crush it for the rest of this week, and we will see you on the next episode of Tampa Bay Real Producers. See you later.
See you.